What is going on, guys? We are back playing some more Surviving with IndustrialCraft 2. And today, guys, we're going to be messing around with the Kinetic wind generator, which is actually a newer version of the old windmill, and it's a little bit more complicated, a little bit more expensive, but of course, because it's a little bit more expensive and all that, it's going to be a little bit more effective. So I think it's going to be really fun to mess around with. And there's a lot of different things that we actually have to make because the whole process involves you putting down a kinetic wind generator up in the sky somewhere up there, and then you're going to put a rotor into it. And there's a couple different types. There's wood ones, iron, refined iron, and carbon ones. And the more expensive they are, the longer they will last before they break, and they also will be more effective when it comes to generating the kinetic units. And of course, then they will generate the kinetic units, which then goes straight into a kinetic generator, which should be right behind the kinetic wind generator, and that will actually create your EU for you. So there's a lot of different stuff that goes into play here, so we're going to be crafting a lot. If we come over to this chest right here, you can see it's relatively full, and it actually does have a lot of expensive stuff in it. So last time I said that we were making the nuclear reactor, and that was more expensive than what we're making now, but there is a lot of iron and refined iron, as you can see right here, involved in actually constructing these rotor blades. And of course, you can get away with just using the wood, which is the kinetic gearbox rotor for wood. Then you've got the iron one, and you can see that these have different requirements. So you need a minimum of 10 MCW and a max of 60, and then this one it's got a little bit of a higher range, so you can see the effectiveness of these is going up, but it also requires more wind to actually turn them, all that stuff. So we'll get into that later. I know I'm just kind of breezing over it now, but we're going to do all the crafting now, and I'm going to make one of the wood ones, an iron one, and a steel one. And I called it refined iron, but I guess it's called steel in this. It uses refined iron. And then we're going to make 3 kinetic generators, 3 kinetic wind generators, and then we're going to make a wind meter. And what that is going to do is it's going to allow us to flip on the hover mode in our jetpack, sit in the air somewhere, and tell us actually how good the wind is. So we're going to get to crafting, and we can grab all these out of here and start making them. So essentially what these are going to take to make the rotor blades are going to be 4 of the center crafting material, which for the wood one is wood, and oh gosh, okay, so there we go. And then it's going to require 24 of the outer material because it's double. So we're going to want 4 of these, and then it's going to take a piece of iron in the very center of these to actually finish making it. So grab that, and there we go. So we have the kinetic gearbox rotor wood, which functions from 10 to 60 MCW. Now this is going to last 3 IRL hours is how they phrase it on the wiki, which means if you have the game running for 3 actual hours, not Minecraft in-game time, but 3 actual hours, which is a decent amount of time for the amount of resources spent, then it will break and you will need to replace it. And that's what I was talking about, that it's not fully passive generation. It does require some maintenance, which I do find to be interesting because it's more realistic than most things in the game. So now we're going to make the iron one, which is the same thing, except instead of having the wood planks on the side, it's iron plates, and then you have iron ingots in the center to make the iron rotor blade. And then it's the same thing again, where you put these in this shape, and it is an iron shaft in the center. Now that's really expensive. That takes 9 iron to make, and then you have to put the actual iron block in a metal former, so that's pretty expensive. And then for this one's really expensive because this one requires a lot of refined iron, which means using the blast furnace for a really long time. It required me to sit on here AFK for a long while. Oh, I'm dropping everything. But I do believe it'll be well worth it in the end because I forgot to say the iron one, this one, is going to last for a day. So that's really good. A day of actual real-life time, functions from 14 to 75 MCW. And then the steel one we're making right now lasts 3 IRL days, 72 hours of real-life time. So I don't even know if I've been active in this world for that many hours. So this thing is well worth the amount that you invest in it. But just keep in mind that if you make this and you're not going to place it in somewhere that's going to get 17 to 90 MCW, you're not going to be able to use it. It won't turn. And that makes sense considering they're more heavy duty, meaning they would be harder to turn, but generate more for you. I believe that should be how it works. I don't know if that's the exact reasoning behind it, but I believe that should be how it works. So now we're going to make the kinetic generators, which just take basic machine casing, and on the left and right, you're going to have iron shafts. So again, this requires a ton of iron to actually make. That's the kinetic wind generators, which you can see the power output is not EU, it's KU, which is kinetic units per tick. So 0 to X is just because it's based off of where you're going to be placing it on, height-wise in the game. And then we're going to grab all this out, and this is going to be used for actually making the kinetic generator, which is going to turn the kinetic units that we have that are essentially useless in this scenario into EU per tick. So we're going to have the generator right here. We're going to put these iron on the top and bottom, the iron item casings. We're going to have the electric motor directly next to the generator, and then a shaft on the far right middle side. And those are going to make the kinetic generator, which will output anywhere from 1 to 512 EU per tick. So we now have those, and we're essentially going to line these up. So what's going to happen is we're going to have the kinetic generators lined up with the kinetic wind generators, and they're going to be one after the other, and then we will just pump the power from that using these insulated copper cables. And one thing to keep in mind is that every 5 blocks, insulated copper cables will lose 1 EU, meaning that it might be more effective to keep things a little bit closer to home. If you're curious as to how high you want to go, 1 EU is not a lot, but you're still losing power if you go very high up. So it is something to keep in mind if you're going to throw, one wood rotor all the way up in the sky and just leave it there. So, might not be the most effective thing. Now, all this stuff that we're grabbing out right here is going to be the stuff to actually make the wind meter. Now, this one is interesting. Let's see if I remember how to make this. I definitely do remember. It's going to be like this pattern to make the small power unit, which we made before for the electric wrench, I believe. Oh yeah, also, that's in lossless mode. Haha, yes, that is right. I figured out, someone said Shift M to do it. Shift M is for the jetpack. I just figured that out. And I believe it's right click M is for switching this to different modes. So we're going to leave it in lossless. It does use more power, but we're going to leave it there because I don't want to screw up and get another basic machine casing when, I actually want to have one of these kinetic generators. So this gets us the wind meter, and we are going to have to go and charge this puppy up. And I think I should also probably charge my jetpack up. Also, this thing's been running, sitting at a core temp of 2%, if you guys were curious. We have been generating this a good amount. I was moving some scrap, but I realized there is an issue with, I made an ejector upgrade, that's why it's in my inventory right now, and it's actually bad. I should have put a pulling upgrade in, because if there's a pulling upgrade in this, which I believe it should be able to have, yeah, it'll pull from this, but if there's an ejector upgrade in this, it'll actually eject scrap into the item hopper and then kill the scrap off by taking it back into the recycler. So, yeah, I want to put a pulling upgrade in there, but this whole thing has been running. We're generating stuff, and I believe all the power that I'm pumping from these windmills or the kinetic wind generator today is going to go right into here because this whole system's got our base pretty well powered. So we can throw this back in here, power this thing up just to make sure we've got max power, and then hopefully the solar helmet will be able to maintain that. And then we are also going to throw the wind meter in there, and maybe we'll just top off the electric wrench just to make sure we got everything all good and ready. So there we go. Got everything now, and we can head back up, get away from these noisy power generation methods. This thing is going to start going when we hop on. I still haven't made that change over there yet. You guys keep telling me what I should do, but I haven't made that change. You can also see in chat, I was testing out switching between these. Yeah, I would be annoyed with that if I wasn't going to be leaving right now. So the plan is to come up here, and I want to put them somewhere up here. So let's go up. Let's see what they'd be like right here. Let's sit right here and see what they would get us. If you're curious, 160 is pretty much around there is the optimal place for the best wind you're going to get. If you get to the build height, you start getting like no wind. There's not really much wind up there. And I believe below Y60, there's nothing. So we're at Y91 right now, and we are getting 25.3 MCW. So that means we actually can put any of these down. Now up here, we're getting 31. So it does go up a fair bit. Let's see. Let's go for Y120. We'll go Y120. So throw on Shift M, hover mode, go up a little bit. Okay, so 38. We'll call it a good day on that. It won't require us to transport too much. Oh gosh, let me drop down now. Okay, so what that's going to entail is us wiring power all the way up there, and then there's a specific method in which we need to actually set these up. So if we're going for Y120, what I plan on doing is finding, I believe the power should be somewhere around here. Yes, okay, very good. That was spot on. Man, that's freaky good. I'm so good at this. Okay, so we're going to be wiring it right here, I believe, down here, because this is where all of our power goes, and I know it's kind of becoming just this crazy mosh pit of all these different power generation methods, but I'm okay with that. So we're going to dig up here, and oh, this is going to slow down a lot as I'm going up because I'm literally face first into this thing. I'm waiting until we get to dirt. Come on, dirt. Show me the money. Let's put some light down so you guys can see what's going on. Just mining up the edge of this cliff, and I don't think the cliff is very high, which is why I didn't think this would be an issue. Okay, we're at dirt. Okay, we've hit dirt, which means 1 or 2 more blocks. Okay, there we go. So we pop out right here, which is actually pretty good. We're like right in the center of this right here. And this is where we're going to wire all the power up. And going to take a lot of copper cable. It did require a lot of copper. This whole project required a lot of resources, so I'm running really low. I am going to have to start using the miner again to start getting stuff because I'm too lazy to actually go and get it myself. I've become complacent with the amount of resources I have. I didn't think I'd need to get more for a while, but these last 2 projects have really been draining me on them. So, yeah. Now, does this charge like a good amount in the sun? I don't know. Yeah, I guess it charges an okay amount, so it's nothing great. Yeah. Okay, so we want to go up to 120, and we can actually get up there by just sitting on this thing and hopping up and down, and that'll tell us right when we reach 120. And we're actually going to set it up a little bit differently than you'd probably expect. So we're just going to keep going. Hopefully we have enough. Yeah, we definitely will have enough. And this isn't going to lose us too much. It's going to lose us an okay amount of EU, but I think it's worthwhile for testing. Okay, so we're at Y120 right now on our wherever that measures. I can't even remember if it's your feet or your head. I want to say it's your feet, but I don't know. Maybe it's your head. Okay, so we're roughly here, and the wind meter is reading, 42.28. Okay, so we're even better than before. So what you can also tell about the wind strength is affected by a couple things. The height that you're going to be at, which is the Y level, and then the weather. So it gets a 20% increase if it's raining, and if it's storming, you get a sweet 50% increase. So that is very nice. Now what we're going to do here is, let's see if we can build off this a little bit. Let's try and get some strategic mouse placement. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we built off it a little bit. This will give us some space to work with, because what we're going to want to do is hook this up, and a lot of factors come into how you want to set these things up. So, first things first, we're going to want to put down the kinetic wind generator, but it's going to want to be one away. So right here is where we're going to want the kinetic wind generator to be, and we're going to do this. So we're going to do that, and we can place another one of these down back here. So the kinetic wind generator can go right there, and it says rotor is missing. So let's slap in the wooden rotor, and that is obstructed right here. You can easily tell it's got a massive lighting glitch. So let's break that, and it starts spinning right away. So that means that it is good to go. It is outputting 110 kilounits. The rotor health is at 99%. So we're actually going to take that off for now, but you can see that it's got all these different things that help you monitor it. And what we can do now is we can take the kinetic wind generator, and what you're going to want to do is match, or the, where's the kinetic generator? That's the wind generator. We want this. So we're going to want to match it up with this black circle back here. So you got the rotor coming out the front, and then you got this black circle back here, and you're going to want to match it up with that. So we're going to place it down, and I actually can't tell exactly where that circle is. I don't know if it's on this side. Let's try. Oh, this is in lossless mode. I don't know if this is going to retrieve it back for us or if it's going to flip it. So let's just right click, let's get rid of lossless. You know what, let's actually keep it in lossless mode. And we're going to shift click, and we're going to want to rotate that. So that black circle is now there, which is unfortunate because I feel like if I do this again, it's going to break it. So let's come down here. We want to rotate it so it's like this. Maybe that's hooked up, I don't know. Maybe they have opposite faces. So let's try throwing the rotor back in here. Okay, so this is actually hooked up correctly. So it is generating 24.8 EU per tick. So that is pretty good. That's nothing crazy, but that's pretty good. Now keep in mind that the reason that this might be better than other methods of power generation is because this thing has durability. So that is just one thing to keep in mind. Now, another thing that we want to keep in mind while we're setting these guys up is when you put the rotor in, so you see this actually has a radius. So I want to say that the radius of this one is 2 blocks. So nothing can be obstructing it within 2 blocks of itself, including blocks, another rotor, or anything, or it will stop. So that is one thing to be cautious about. And then along with that, you don't want to set up kinetic wind generators back to back. So we wouldn't want to put one right over here. We wouldn't want one to go on this side right here. where this block is. Now that's because you don't want them to be lined up like this. I believe it has to have a space of like 22 blocks in this direction. Now you can't put them directly next to each other in a line, but you can't put them like this. And I assume that's because when the wind is coming behind it, like you can't have the wind going through like 7 of these all at once and getting the same amount of power. But if they're in a line like this, that's not the way the wind is going, the way that they sense the wind is going at least, so there's not an issue. So what we're going to do now, and this is called it's either you can do a line or a grid pattern as they call it. So we're going to actually test out the line pattern for now, I believe, but we actually need to I think we need to turn on hover mode here for a little bit. There we go. Oh, it's such a slow descent. Okay. So we're going to want to make sure that not only do we go 2 away from this, let's break that, but we need to go, if we're going to put down the iron one, we need to go 3 away. So right now that should be, right here should be the start of the iron. So 1, 2, 3. And I believe it's a radius of 3, so then we need the center block again to go right there, and then the kinetic generator to go right there. And how's the power doing on that thing? It's looking okay. So then we got that. We can, oh, no, we don't want to do that. I thought shift space would work for that, so we want to throw that down there, and now we should be good to go. So let's get back up here. Let's disable that, and we can see that the iron one should work. Overlapping rotor areas. Huh. Okay, so maybe it needs to be one further. It looks like they shouldn't be touching right now, but yeah, it looks like they shouldn't be touching. But let's see if we take this one out, if it'll spin. Wind too weak for rotor. Or overlapping rotor areas. That's interesting, because this thing says that we're reading 38.13 MCW, which should be more than enough to spin this. What about this? So it must be an overlap in rotor area. So we might need to move this further to the side, which is interesting. Huh. Okay, so it's a good thing we're going to have this on lossless mode, because we're going to need to snag that back, and let's get right on this puppy right here. So we can, oh, no, no. Give me that back. Okay, there we go. Grab some of this cobble down here. Head back up and mess around with this. So I thought that should have worked. I really did, but it didn't. So let's give it a little bit more space than before. So let's give it that much space right there. Okay, that seems like a fair bit of space for this. So we disable that, and then we can come over here, throw that down. Oh, that's a kinetic wind generator. Darn it. Okay, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, we got it. We got it. Don't worry. We got it. Give me the cobble down there. Yeah, I'm a master at placing that. Okay, so the kinetic wind generator is going to go right here. Kinetic generator is going to go right here. And we're going to throw the iron one in here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so there's no overlap with it. Do players affect it? Okay, players do not affect it. So this puppy's spinning right here, generating 199. So if we come over here and look at this one was getting us, this one was getting us 98. So that's fluctuating a little bit, but this one was getting us 99, or 189. So it does fluctuate. This is getting us almost double that. Wonder if it slows down at night. That'd be interesting to know. Okay, so we got those two. And now the question is, do we go with the line method or the grid method? And I'm thinking grid method. So essentially what the grid method is when we come back here, we're going to then make like a box. So if we were to have 4, we'd go up and then over and then down, and it would make like a kind of like a square. So I'm not sure that we need actually this much spacing, but we're going to need more spacing than the iron one would need for this upcoming one, because this one is going to be the steel or refined iron, whatever you want to call it. And before we do this, I should actually go and sleep. Ouch. I'm just saying that because it's getting a little dark. I want to make sure you guys can see what's going on. A lot of messages in chat right now. A lot of stuff to read in there. I always try, if I'm like messing around with stuff like that and I am about to start recording, I always try and like log out and log back in, just so that you guys, like, if I do sleep or open chat, you guys don't have like a bunch of these messages just covering that portion of the screen. But a lot of the time it's just switching between modes and stuff. Oh, and this thing's almost out of power, so let's not screw up anymore. Okay, so that should definitely be enough of a distance between this. I think it's definitely more than enough. I'm not gonna try and min-max this in terms of space. I probably should, but I won't. So let's throw down, we can just throw down cobble like this and break that one. And so we got the kinetic generator first, then the kinetic wind generator is going to go right here, and this one. So this one is higher up, so it's going to be getting better MCW. So down here, this is pretty weak MCW down here then. Okay, yeah, so this went down a lot. These are generating probably much less. Okay, so it does seem to fluctuate day by day. This one looks cool. This one looks like a zebra. Okay, so, well, that's weird. That's really weird. You don't, like, see them if you're not looking at where the rotor is, like, centered. Well, maybe not. I don't know. That's just weird that it disappears. Whatever. So, we got the MCW. Is it, like, fluctuating a lot? No, apparently not. Okay, so this is generating 284 KU, which is giving us 71 EU per tick. That's really good, actually. And this is going to last for 3 IRL days, 1 IRL day, and 3 hours. So all these should be going pretty good. Let's see if this one's lost any percent. It's lost 1%. And then let's come down here, and let's see how the energy is doing with helping us create stuff. Okay, so it does seem to be going a little bit faster. If you think about it, this is generating the same amount of power or less that we're actually getting from the steel rotor kinetic wind generator. So that's pretty interesting. I could see how that could be more effective. Now, of course, this is not the most effective nuclear reactor, but I do think it's interesting to have all these different types of power. So hopefully you guys found this video informative and helpful. If you did, feel free to give it a like, or if you found it entertaining, feel free to give it a like too. You know, I don't feel that I'm entertaining in these videos, but if you know, for some reason thought that, I would appreciate if you guys gave it a like because it does really help me out a lot, and I will talk to you guys later.